Alright guys, we're back with more fantasy baseball content. Here, I'm going to help you go through your waiver wire so you can pick up the best and most important players to add to your teams. I have two quick announcements before we get started though. Number one, I know a lot of you guys are watching and not subscribed to the channel, so if you guys are watching and not subscribed, I have to ask you kindly, please go down there, click that big black subscribe button. It'll help me out to get some more subscribers, also help you out so you don't miss any new videos coming on this channel, like this weekly waiver wire video, trade advice, breakouts, busts, and next week I think we're rating and roasting teams, which will be a very fun video. Second announcement, as I do every single week with this video, in the first chunk of the video, I go through a handful of players, get really deep and granular on them, talk about why you should pick them up, lots of data, lots of information. But then after that, I do a couple breakout segments geared specifically towards deeper and shallow leagues, with the bookmarks for those sections down there in the description. But all right, now let's get into it. The first player you guys have to add to your teams, possibly one of the most important pickups in fantasy baseball since the first few weeks of the season, it's Nick Kurtz, first baseman on the Athletics. There was tons of hoopla when Kurtz came up for the first time towards the end of April because he was crushing the ball in the minor leagues, and he had just been drafted 4th overall 1 year ago, so he had reached the major leagues less than a full year after being drafted. Pretty amazing, shows the level of talent he has. But then a lot of that fanfare died down because it didn't exactly hit that well when he came up. He was being platooned against lefties, he got dropped down to the bottom of the order, then eventually strained his quad, and he missed a little bit more than 2 weeks with an injury. But now he's back from that injury and he's freaking mashing. He has 4 home runs in his last 5 games, including a game-winning home run against Carlos Estevez and the Royals last Sunday, and a walk-off home run the next night against Brian Abreu and the Astros. It all seems like it's really starting to click for Kurtz, and that's a big deal because when he came to the major leagues, the thing that made us most excited about him was what could be some of the best raw power in all of baseball. The only players in the whole league this season who have a higher bat speed than Kurtz and have taken at least 100 swings are O'Neal Cruz and Junior Caminero, the two guys known to have some of the fastest bats in the league. Kurtz is third behind them. On top of that, Kurtz has the highest fast swing rate in the league, meaning the highest rate of his swings where the bat speed's greater than 75 miles an hour. Few guys in the league wield the kind of power that Kurtz has. He wasn't able really to access that raw power over this first couple months of his career, and the big reason for that were some contact rate issues. His strikeout rate is still over 30%, he's also not drawing tons of walks, and his zone contact rate was down towards the bottom of the league. When I say zone contact, that's the amount of swings you take on pitches in the strike zone, and then how much contact you make when you swing the ball at pitches in the strike zone. But kind of funny with Kurtz, as you guys look at the zone contact leaderboard here, courtesy of Fangraphs, he's sandwiched right in between Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. At the same time as having a very similar zone contact to those two behemoths, Kurtz also swings at a very similar amount of pitches in the strike zone and chases a very similar amount of pitches out of the strike zone. So when you look at the plate discipline for Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, and Nick Kurtz, it's really not all that different. So I wanted to kind of figure out, dig into Kurtz's swing decisions, and see why he's not able to make as much meaningful contact as, again, the two best hitters in baseball. And I stumbled upon this crazy fact that of every single hitter in the league, Kurtz swings at the highest rate of pitches in the shadow of the strike zone. I talk about shadow of the strike zone a lot in this channel. What that means is that space kind of on the edges. It's what you think of as a pitcher's pitch. A pitch that could be a ball but is too close to take, or it's right on the black. Just a really well-executed pitch by a pitcher. More than any hitter in the league, Kurtz swings at those pitches. That's a big deal, because the more you swing at a pitch in the shadow of the zone, the fewer opportunities you have to swing at pitches in the heart of the zone. One, because if a pitcher knows you'll swing there, they're going to keep throwing the ball there, at least trying to. Two, if you make contact there, it's not in as good of a location to make meaningful contact against. So you could end your at-bat, swing at a pitch in the shadow, and miss the opportunity for the next mistake to come and punish it. But I think that Kurtz is actually turning a corner with swing decisions, which could be the key to unlocking what could be a 40-homer pace for the rest of the season. Take this at-bat where he hit the walk-off home run against Brian Abreu, for example. Abreu is an amazing relief pitcher on the Astros. In this at-bat, he threw Kurtz a pitch right here in the shadow and a pitch right here in the shadow. Kurtz was able to lay off those two pitches and then get the sweeper in the heart of the plate, crush it for a mammoth walk-off home run. A's win. Kurtz is the hero. Seeing that development happen in real time for a player with Kurtz's potential makes me ridiculously excited. I rolled up Kurtz this week in my waiver wire column for NBC Sports, which is my day job, guys, if you want to check out my work over there. But I truly see a 40-homer potential bat in Nick Kurtz, and he could keep up that pace through the rest of the season with everyday playing time for the Athletics. He's been playing against lefties too, so not taking that playing time away there, and was going to be an amazing park to hit in all summer. Add Kurtz everywhere you possibly can right now. Next up, we have Brandon Walter, starting pitcher on the Astros. The Astros have had some rotation problems this year, mostly due to injury. Behind Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez, they really have not had much consistency from the rest of their rotation. Ronel Blanco's out for the season. Spencer Arrighetti broke his thumb in April. He still hasn't thrown off a mound yet. Hayden Wesneski's out for the season. Lance McCullers Jr. just came back, then immediately got hurt again. A lot of movement in this rotation so far, and Walter so far has taken advantage of this big opportunity. He has a 1.53 ERA and 19 strikeouts against just 1 walk in 17 innings so far this season. He came up towards the end of May, made a very good spot start, then came back up again about a week and a half ago and has made back-to-back good starts. The Astros picked up Walter last season during the summer when the Red Sox DFA'd him when he was in the process of missing the entire season with a rotator cuff strain. And then they brought him into their very acclaimed pitching development, change up his repertoire a little bit. He's a funky side-arming lefty, and they gave all of his pitches a little bit more east to west movement, as you guys can see from this pitch chart right here. And now he has a great repertoire that can combat hitters from both sides of the plate. Against lefties, it's lots of sinkers and sweepers. They can't touch them. And then against righties, it's tons of cutters with a good few changeups, and also that amazing sweeper when he gets the chance to, because that is definitely his best pitch. The Astros are getting some guys back soon. McCullers, like I mentioned before, is likely to only have the minimum stay on the injured list, and Christian Javier, off Tommy John surgery, just threw his first bullpen session, so he could be back within about a month. But there's still a lot of space in this Astros rotation for one of these guys from this group of Brandon Walter, Colton Gordon, and Ryan Gusto to take this spot. I have talked a good bit this season about Gusto and Gordon, but as of right now, looking at the stuff, looking at the recent results, I think Walter is the best of that trio and has a chance to stick in this rotation moving forward. I'm very intrigued in all 12-team leagues. Next up, we have Joe Adell, outfielder on the Angels. I really can't believe we're still talking about Joe Adell, 2025. I'm sure all of us playing fantasy baseball over the last few years have been burned by Joe Adell before, but he's hitting so well, I need to start talking about him. He has 9 home runs in his last 18 games dating back to May 31st, and also right now has the lowest strikeout rate of his entire career, 25%, which is actually rather on the league average. And most importantly for Adell right now, he started 19 consecutive games for the Angels. Right there, great power, lowest strikeout rate of his career, playing every day. Immediately that puts him on our radars, especially because he still has all of the amazing physical tools that made him such a high-end prospect so many years ago. Still has near top of the league bat speed, still hits the ball incredibly hard very often, pulls the bulk of his fly balls. He just does the things that we want to see breakout hitters do. And then while it's still not good, his plate discipline is not awful like it was always thought to be. The swing decisions are pretty solid. He doesn't chase much, and he still swings the pitches in the heart of the zone. He has gotten a bit more aggressive this season. Perhaps that's helped him find more of this in-game power, and also helped him to improve his contact rate to the point where, again, it's totally fine. I'm not buying back in on Joe Adell, the superstar, but I'm saying while he's hot right now, while he's doing all these things well under the hood, while he's playing every day, he's worth a look if you need a power bat in your team. Now we have another kind of funny one. It's Willie Castro, utility man on the Twins. Castro's been lighting the world on fire at the plate. He has an OPS over 1,000 since May 15th, which is kind of incomprehensible that Willie Castro has been one of the most effective hitters in all of baseball, going on basically 5 weeks now. Also funny about Willie Castro now finding all this power and patience, he only has 1 stolen base over that time. The speed used to be the thing that kept Castro on fantasy league radars. But right now, weirdly again, it's the power, it's the patience, it's extra base hits. He's doing it all, except running, funny enough. He's also always been such a great fantasy asset because he's eligible in nearly every position. Second base, third base, shortstop, outfield. He's such a great player to have on the bottom of your roster, so if there's an emergency, somebody gets hurt, bam, Willie Castro can fill in for anybody. Because he also does this for the Twins in real life. He started 26 of their last 28 games while playing 5 different positions over that span. And now in 3 of his last 4 games, he's actually hit third in the order. But at the same time, nothing in Castro's profile right now signifies a breakout relative to the player he's been in the past. His power is fine. He is pulling more fly balls, getting the ball out in front a little bit more often, which has helped him to access more in-game power. But the contact rate's fine. The plate discipline's whatever. Like, there's nothing really there. I'm like, oh, Willie Castro, big breakouts. More just Willie Castro, while he's being productive, such a great fantasy asset generally, can definitely help a lot of your guys' teams. Next up, we have Jacob Lopez, starting pitcher on the Athletics. This is a bit of a soft week for starting pitchers on the waiver wire, after last week was one of the best weeks for getting a pitcher on the waiver wire I've seen in a while. So if you guys want to see some pitchers that could still be available in your leagues, make sure you check out last week's video. The link for that's in the description. But I wanted to talk about Lopez because he's someone I've gotten a lot of questions about recently, and I thought he was a fun pitcher to dig into. On the season, he has a 4.25 ERA, which doesn't look special, but the big reason for that is that he had a bad stretch about 2 weeks ago where over 2 appearances, he allowed 12 earned runs over 6 innings. That's basically been the only time this season anybody has gotten anything on him. Since that bad stretch, he has struck out 23 batters across 16 innings and only allowed 1 earned run in the process. That came against the Astros, the Royals, and the Orioles, and 2 of those 3 starts did come at home. So the matchups, again, aren't that great, but pitching at home in Sacramento for the Athletics right now, very tough place to pitch. The fact he's able to get outs there, good sign. He's also such a weird pitcher. He's been fun to research. He's a side-arming, soft-tossing lefty, but while he's a side-arming soft tosser, he's a big guy and gets over 7 feet of extension, some of the most extension in the league, especially for a left-handed pitcher. So when he's only throwing 90, 91 miles an hour, the hitters are perceiving that velocity as something more like 93, 94, 95, which makes it passable. still don't love that low velocity, but it does make it passable. When he faces left-handed batters, they get a heavy dose of that fastball and tons of sliders. When he faces righties, he mixes it up a bunch with fastballs, sliders, changeups, and cutters as well. It winds up being a very good mix, and that changeup has been the biggest difference maker for him lately. Since those two bad appearances, like I mentioned, he's really increased his usage on those changeups against right-handed batters, and it's been his most effective pitch this season against them, with nearly a 50% whiff rate and very, very poor quality of contact metrics. That pitch has been a key for him, and the fact that he's using it so well recently is a good sign too. Again, I generally hate starting pitchers who sit in that 90, 91 mile per hour range. It's just not a great spot to be effective, but the extension that Lopez has kind of puts him above that and makes me much more intrigued. Also, I would be very aware of pitching a pitcher like Lopez or anybody in that park in Sacramento. So far this season, it's been the second easiest place to hit, just behind Coors Field, according to StatCast Park Factors. So be mindful of Lopez's matchups, but I think he's pitching too well right now and getting too many strikeouts to be on the waiver wire in a 12-team league. Next up, we have Miguel Vargas on the White Sox, another post-type prospect who, under the radar, is having a very good season. He was a part of the three-team trade last season that sent both Michael Kopech and Tommy Edman to the Dodgers, with Vargas going back to the White Sox. And it was a complete disaster when he got to Chicago last season. It got so bad for him and the whole team that he was featured as a big meme as to the despair those White Sox players were going through on their path to being the worst team of all time. While he was playing so poorly, his plate discipline, which was always his calling card as a prospect and earlier in his career with the Dodgers, was still there. Still some of the best plate discipline in the league. Great swing decisions. But the power had evaporated. He just simply couldn't drive anything. So far this season, that power has rebounded in a real way. Not top of the league power. We're not talking about Nick Kurtz here. We're not talking about Joe Adell here. We're at least having league average power. League average power is a huge deal for a guy like Vargas because he has an amazing hit tool and, again, some of the best plate discipline in the entire league. Interestingly enough, he's making more contact this season and doing more with that contact by being more aggressive. Someone like Vargas, whose calling card was always never swing at pitches outside the zone, can kind of get obsessed with, again, never swing at pitches outside the zone sometimes. I think this year Vargas has kind of let his inhibitions loose a bit more, and it's like, I have to swing at more pitches because I need to swing to do damage. So while the swing decision metrics have trended down a hair, the more contact and better quality of contact he's making, that's the biggest deal. And that's why he's been so successful. He pulls the bulk of his fly balls, so he gets a lot out of that, again, league average power. And in some leagues, he's eligible at third base, outfield, or second base. He's playing every single day. Again, he's hitting for power. He's getting on base at the top, albeit a bad, but still at the top of an order. He's a great compiler for the bottom of your roster in 12-team leagues. Last up on the big list is Alec Burleson from the St. Louis Cardinals. And Burleson quietly has been one of the best hitters in baseball over the last month. I think a lot of people are not noticing that because he started out the season so badly. Probably me and a lot of other fantasy players out there just totally wrote him off. On May 7th, he only had a 6.40 OPS, 6 extra base hits on the season, and was actively losing playing time in the Cardinals lineup. Since then, he has a 380 batting average, 1,000 OPS, and is playing every day, while also, over the last week or so, moved up to third regularly in the Cardinals lineup. Cardinals lineup sneaky, also pretty good. So a guy like Burleson hitting third, playing every day, tons of chances for RBIs, tons of chances for runs scored. Burleson's never going to be a power speed guy, but just someone who you can plug in now, very boring source of high batting average and good counting stats. It's a really valuable player. And again, he's widely available at the moment because that bad start kind of killed his reputation. All right, now that's the end of the big list, but like I told you guys at the top of the video, now I'm going to have some breakout sections for shallow leagues, deep leagues, minor leaguers, players to drop, starting out with players who are not rostered enough in ESPN leagues. I have this section every week to tell you guys if you play in ESPN leagues, people to add, because for some reason, the rostership rates in ESPN are crazy. First up is Junior Caminero at 88%. Caminero looks like he's actually going in right now in the superstar upside that was promised of us when he was billed as a top prospect. He's hitting the middle of the Rays lineup every single day. They're playing well, they're hitting well. Even 88% roster, that's too low. That should be a pure 100%. Same with Merrill Kelly, 80%. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball over the last 6 weeks or so. Getting strikeouts, not walking anybody, a pure innings either. Merrill Kelly's great for that. Similarly, we have Ranger Suarez at 79%. Just had his best start of the season, striking out 8 Marlins over 7 innings. Just looks totally dominant. Ranger Suarez is a great pitcher. 79% is not rostered enough. Same with Vinny Pasquantino, 72%. Someone I get asked about a lot in the comment section here is Pasquantino, and he has a 920 OPS since May 15th. I know he had a very bad start to the season, but a guy like Pasquantino is a good hitter, professional hitter, middle of a bad lineup, but still middle of a lineup. He's going to get tons of counting stats, hit for a high average the rest of the season, no doubt about it. Then we have probably the most egregious one in this whole list. Ryan Pepiot, 56% rostered. Ryan Pepiot, openly, might be one of the 20 best starting pitchers in baseball right now. He's got the fastball, the slider, the changeup all working. He's on like a 7-star stretch right now of just being completely unhittable. He is so good. 56% roster is egregious. Again, I think at worst, he's a top 30 starting pitcher in all of fantasy baseball right now. No doubt about that. If you guys are playing the ESPN league and you see Ryan Pepiot sitting on the free agent wire, I don't care if it's a 6-team league. You pick him up. Then we have his teammate, Brandon Lau, 47%. One of the best hitters in baseball statistically over the last month. Brandon Lau was crushing the ball. The Rays are actually starting to play him against lefties now, so he's in the lineup every single day. He's awesome. One of the most underrated guys in baseball over the last, half decade or so. Then we have Grant Holmes, 36% rostered, coming off a 15 strikeout game against the Colorado Rockies last week. Holmes is awesome. Top 50 pitcher in the league, no doubt about it. 36% is too low. Next, we have the pair of super prospects, Roman Anthony at 32% and Jack Caglianone at 29%. I know it really hasn't started up yet for either of these guys, but these are two of the best prospects in baseball for a reason. All the same reasons that Kurtz led this video with the amazing tools and starting to kind of click and develop in real time at the major league level. It's going to happen with these guys too when they get more plate appearances. Caglianone just had 2 home runs in a game. Roman Anthony's hitting the middle of the Red Sox lineup with the departure of Rafael Devers. These guys are too good, especially if you're in a 10-team league where upside wins those leagues. You need to keep these guys on your roster, at least for the hope if they click over the next month. Then we have Will Warren at 20%. I know the ERA still looks ugly because of some bad starts early in the season, but he's one of the best strikeout getters in the entire league. Another guy who I think is definitely a top 50 starting pitcher. And lastly, Edward Cabrera, 5%. Cabrera's made some big adjustments recently. I talked about him in my waiver wire video, I think 2 weeks ago at this point, changing his arm angle, getting more east-west movement, throwing more sinkers, throwing more strikes. I like Cabrera a lot for the second half. Huge sleeper right now. Next up, we have the stash list. Guys who are either coming back from the injured list or minor leaguers who you guys should be paying attention to and possibly stashing on the bottom of your roster if you have space. Starting with Emmett Sheehan. Emmett Sheehan's going to be one of the features of this video after he made his return from Tommy John surgery a few days ago and decimated the Padres over, I think it was 4 or 5 innings. The stuff looks amazing. Tons of swings and misses. He was amped up on the mound, throwing mid to upper 90s with that fastball, but the Dodgers immediately sent him back down to the minor leagues because they don't need a 5th starter again for about 2 weeks. Going back down to the minors, he has to be there for 2 weeks now. So we're not going to see him until July 1st, but keep a close eye on Emmett Sheehan because when he comes up, it's going to be great stuff, and I'm sure he's going to be featured in one of these videos when we do get that call. Then we have Michael McGreevy. Also came up this week, made a spot start for the Cardinals against the White Sox, pitched a decent game, but also got sent back down in the minor leagues. There's going to be a spot for him in this rotation soon, and McGreevy's a solid pitcher. Doesn't have the same upside as Sheehan, doesn't have the same strikeout stuff as Sheehan, doesn't have the same velocity as Sheehan, but a good pitcher. Knows how to move the ball around, knows how to use off-speed stuff. Just needs to throw a couple more strikes when he gets there. Solid mid-rotation guy. Similarly, Logan Henderson just keeps pitching well in the minor leagues for the Brewers. Was amazing in the majors here when he got his chance. Keeping an eye on Logan Henderson because at some point in the next few weeks, he's going to go back into this rotation. Then we have 2 crazy ones. First is Chase Burns. I've talked about Chase Burns in this segment for a few weeks now. The Reds promoted him to AAA. He's been throwing really well there. Some walks, but lots of strikeouts. There's a few guys ahead of him in the pecking order to get a shot in this Reds rotation, namely Rhett Lowther and Chase Petty. But Burns is my favorite pitching prospect in all of baseball at the moment. He could get the call because he's already in AAA. If he does get the call, immediately must add player. Same with Joe Boyle. The Rays rotation has been one of the most consistent and stable in the league this year, but Joe Boyle keeps crushing it at AAA. A spot will open at some point, and when Joe Boyle gets that shot, you want him on your team. Then, of course, the obligatory mention of Bubba Chandler, still in the minor leagues, not even pitching well in the minor leagues anymore, so I have to take him off this list. I think I jinxed him back in mid-May when I said he was defiantly going to get a starting spot. I don't know what's going to happen with Bubba Chandler. It's getting really ridiculous from the Pirates. Now a few guys returning from injury. Masataka Yoshida, with the departure of Rafael Devers in Boston, apparently he's now being fast-tracked to return to the team's DH. I expect him back in 2 weeks. When he does return, he's still a plus hitter. Deep league, he's a great guy. Sean Manaea just threw 60 pitches in his most recent rehab start for the Mets. Mets desperately need rotation help, so when Manaea gets back, of course he has a spot, and I'm expecting him to pitch well. Also, a few names to pay attention to, though, with this Mets rotation. Nolan McLean and Jonah Tong. 2 of the best pitching prospects in baseball. McLean's in AAA, Tong's in AA. Good chance at some point late in the summer, at least one of those guys gets a chance. This is still just McLean's first year pitching fully. He was still a 2-way player last May, which is crazy to think about. He's one of the best sweepers in the minor leagues. Good fastball, cutter, changeup, sinker. Got a lot of stuff there. But then Tong, who actually is due to be added to the Mets 40-man roster sooner than McLean. Right now, statistically, probably the best overall pitcher in the minor leagues. The most strikeouts in all of the minor leagues. He's a freak of nature. One of these guys probably gets a chance at some point. I do not know who. 2 names to keep an eye on in deeper and dynasty leagues, of course. Then lastly, you mentioned him a little while ago, Christian Javier, just his first bullpen session with the Astros. Probably will be back by, July 20th, August 1st, around that range. Keep an eye on him. Next up, we have the deep league ads. For you guys playing in much deeper leagues, these are players you need to be taking a look at right now. Starting with Michael Toglia. Toglia had a horrible start to the season, like a 50% strikeout rate. Got sent back down in the minor leagues. Came back up for the Rockies this week, mashing. Multiple home runs. Immediately mashing. Someone to keep an eye on because we were excited about him heading into the season. Went down, came back up. Hopefully it was the reset he needed. Then the closer tandem of Orion Kerkering and Matt Strahm in Philadelphia. They've both overtaken Jordan Romano for the closer's job there, and they've been alternating save opportunities for about a week now. I think Kerkering is going to get the bulk of the save opportunities as the righty, where Strahm's the best lefty they have. But I do think Strahm is better equipped at getting out batters from both sides of the play, because Kerkering really just has the fastball and the sweeper, so lefties tend to crush him. That's why I don't really like these guys as an ad in shallow leagues, but in deep leagues, if you need saves, Take a look at both of them. Then Connor Norby on the Marlins. People were very excited about him coming into the season. A great power speed combo with everyday playing time. Hurt his oblique, missed 6 weeks, came back, not hitting great, hit a home run this last week, still has about 6 steals. Someone who I could see getting hot at some point this summer. Then fellow Marlin, Jansen Junk, named appropriately as the soft tossing command artist. One of the lowest walk rates in the league. Good starting spot in the Marlins. Want to see him keep pitching well. Could be someone that's featured in the big list in the next coming weeks. Then a crazy one. Didier Fuentes, 20-year-old right-handed pitcher on the Braves. Making his major league debut right after I'm recording this video on Friday afternoon, so I don't want to talk too much about him. But big-time fastball, good curveball. Shows a splitter as well. Going to be the youngest player in baseball immediately when he debuts. The youngest Brave to start the game in 55 years, which is really crazy to think about. The Braves also love to push these minor leaguers fast. AJ Smith-Shawver also debuted for the Braves at 20 years old. Spencer Schwellenbach only made, I think it was 24 starts between the minor leagues and debuting for the Braves last year. If someone's good enough, the Braves are known to push him. Could be Fuentes next. Similar situation, Blade Tidwell making a spot start for the Mets on Friday night. This is coming out. I'm recording this between him pitching. I'm recording and editing this before he actually pitches. Don't want to say much, but the Mets rotation's in shambles right now. If Tidwell pitches well against the Phillies, he could stick. Then Javier Baez made me eat my words last week by putting him on the drop list. Guy still keeps producing. Everything under the hood, terrible. In real games, keeps hitting. What can I say? Charlie Morton on the Orioles. I have put Charlie Morton on the drop list many times this season, but suddenly he's striking guys out again, not walking anybody. Fastball's getting slightly more swings and misses. Curveball still good. Has to be a very deep league, so I'm expecting a blow up soon. Then we got Mitchell Parker on the Nationals. In Parker's last start, he threw a great game against the Rockies. It was the Rockies at home, so kind of no big deal. But also in this start, he went away from his splitter and threw many more curveballs. During the season, Parker's had the usage of that splitter and curveball pretty even, but the splitter got hit much harder than the curveball despite getting swings and misses at a similar rate. So take a look at that adjustment. Parker has had some ups and downs, but he's got good strikeout stuff. Then Ben Brown, the Cubs, coming off a good start against the Brewers, just strikes out too many batters to be totally overlooked in most leagues. I know the ERA is ugly, but the stuff is crazy. Abraham Toro on the Red Sox, still hitting well, still hitting the top of that order, good in a deep league. And lastly, someone to keep a close eye on, Grant Taylor on the White Sox. One of the best pitching prospects in baseball, but the White Sox are only using him as a middle reliever right now. He was an opener on Friday, went 1 inning, working also back-to-back because he pitched in relief on Thursday. But if there is any inkling for the White Sox to stretch out Grant Taylor at the major league level, he immediately becomes interesting. I think he's going to get tons of strikeouts, not walk anybody. Again, one of my favorite pitching prospects in all of baseball, Grant Taylor. Now, lastly, I've given you guys tons of players to add, so I have to give you some to drop. Starting out with JT Realmuto, just not really a top 10 catcher anymore. If you're in a 10-team league and you see someone like Alejandro Kirk, Augustin Ramirez, or Drake Baldwin on the free agent list, they might be a better option than Realmuto, which is crazy because he's been one of the best catchers this generation in all of baseball. Then Griffin Canning was really good to start the year, has come crashing back down to earth over the last couple weeks, just not fantasy viable. Walker Buehler, I've been telling you guys to drop him for weeks. He is not good. Please drop him. Same with Brady Singer on the Reds, had a great start to the season, crashing back to earth, not very good. Bad place to pitch. Andrew Heaney, I was excited about Heaney to begin the season. Also come crashing back down to earth. 10-team league, 12-team league, probably not worth a roster spot. Jorge Polanco, similarly, was the best hitter in baseball for 3 weeks. Now over the last 6 weeks has been one of the worst. Hard to hold on for Polanco. Not worth dreaming on those first 3 weeks. Just remembering the hitter Polanco has been for the last few years. Then there's interesting things happening with some position battles in New York. First, Giancarlo Stanton came back for the Yankees, kind of squeezing all the playing time between Jason Dominguez, Ben Rice, and Paul Goldschmidt. The fact is, basically all of those guys are going to get a day or two off every week, so it makes all of them hard to roster in weekly leagues, especially Ben Rice, who looks like the biggest loser here. And Mark Vientos is due back for the Mets this week. That's again going to squeeze the playing time between Ronnie Mauricio, Brett Baty, and then Vientos. Hard to roster any of those guys in a non-deep weekly league when you know they're all going to get a day or two off every single week. Then Jorge Soler just got always hot and cold. Right now he's cold, dealt with a little hand injury. And I'm starting to think about dropping Kyle Stowers, the darling of fantasy baseball for the first 6 weeks of the season. Swing and miss is going back up. The power production is not there anymore. 10-team league, I would definitely drop a guy like Kyle Stowers for one of these big-time prospects, Kurtz, Roman Anthony, or Jack Caglianone. Not even think twice about it. But all right, guys, thank you so much for another great waiver wire video. Also want to tell you to check out the last video put in this channel, kind of dissecting the Rafael Devers trade. Wasn't dense fantasy baseball content, so I know a lot of you guys may have not clicked on it, but thought there was a lot of great analysis in there. Just trying to change up some of the vibe and feel of this channel. Felt like it got kind of repetitive. Wanted to talk about some new stuff. Also, trying to change up the vibe and feel. Next video, I'm going to rate and roast your guys' fantasy teams, so keep an eye on my Twitter. Link in the description of this video, because I'm going to put the instructions on how to get your team rated, roasted, and featured on that video in a tweet that's going to come out Monday morning. Keep an eye on that. Again, thank you guys all so much for being here again. I'll see you next time.